They say betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from those you trust the most. I always thought that was just a figure of speech, until the night my whole world shattered in the time it takes to open a bedroom door. The night started like any other. I had just wrapped up a long week at work, craving nothing more than a cold beer and a quiet evening with my wife, Emily. We'd been married 12 years, not perfect years, but good ones. Solid. Or so I thought. The house was strangely silent when I got home. No soft music playing, no clinking of dishes in the kitchen, no greeting from Emily. Just a heavy, oppressive stillness. Something was off. I set down my briefcase and listened. From upstairs, I caught the faintest sound, a muffled laugh. A voice I knew too well, but that had no damn business being here, Jason. My best friend since college. My stomach dropped. I moved quietly, each step up the staircase heavy with dread. The door to our bedroom was slightly ajar. A sliver of lamplight spilled into the hallway. And then, I heard it. Her voice. A low, breathy whisper, a tone I'd once believed was reserved only for me. And Jason's chuckle, casual, familiar, sickening. The air felt thick, like breathing underwater. My hand, almost of its own will, pushed the door open wider. There they were. Emily, wrapped in a sheet, her bare shoulder exposed, her head resting against his chest. Jason, shirtless, smiling lazily, not a care in the world. For a moment, none of them noticed me. It was like time itself cracked open, every detail seared into my memory with brutal clarity, the glint of Jason's wedding band, he still wore it, the way Emily's fingers curled around his arm, the smug curve of Jason's mouth. When Emily finally looked up, the blood drained from her face so fast she looked like a corpse. "Rob!" she gasped, scrambling to pull the sheet higher. Jason sat up, swinging his legs over the edge of the bed. He didn't even look ashamed. Just, annoyed, like I was the one intruding. "What the hell, man," he muttered. I couldn't move. Couldn't think. For a second, I genuinely wondered if I was having a stroke. The trust, the memories, the laughter, it all shattered into jagged shards inside my chest. I stared at them, trying to fit this new, grotesque image over the old ones, the woman I'd sworn to protect, the friend I'd trusted with every secret. It didn't fit. It couldn't fit. How long? My voice barely came out. Rough, cracked. Emily opened her mouth, but nothing came. Jason shrugged. It just happened. Just happened. Like slipping on ice, or missing a bus. I laughed, a short, broken sound I barely recognized as mine. "You should go," I said, my voice steadier now, colder. "Both of you." Emily started to sob, reaching for me. Jason grabbed his jeans off the floor. "Rob, please, it's not what it looks like," she choked. "No," I said, stepping back. "It's exactly what it looks like." Jason stood there for a second, probably weighing whether it was worth saying anything at all. He decided against it. Coward. He grabbed his shoes and pushed past me without a word. Emily sat there crying, naked under the sheets that still smelled of him, and for the first time in my life, I felt absolutely nothing for her. No rage. No sadness. Just a vast, echoing emptiness. As I turned and walked out, I knew one thing with iron certainty. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there in my car, parked at the edge of town in some nameless, empty lot, staring at the dashboard until the numbers on the clock blurred together. The text messages started around 2 a.m. First Emily. Then Jason. I didn't answer. I didn't even read them. When the sun finally clawed its way over the horizon, I knew what I had to do. I went home. The house looked different in the morning light, colder somehow. Smaller. Like a stage set once the play is over and the audience has left. I stepped through the door and found Emily sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, her eyes swollen from crying. She jumped up when she saw me. "Rob," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Please, please let me explain." I shook my head, slow and deliberate. "No explanations. No excuses." "But I love you," she said desperately, taking a step closer. "Don't." I held up a hand. "Don't you dare say that." Something inside me had snapped clean in half. The man who had believed in loyalty, in forever, in her, he was dead. Standing in his place was someone colder. Sharper. Someone who would no longer be a fool. I went straight to the bedroom and pulled out a duffel bag. Tossed in clothes, my passport, important papers. Emily followed me like a ghost, weeping, begging. "You're overreacting," she sobbed. "It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything." I zipped the bag and slung it over my shoulder. "You made a choice," I said quietly. "Now I'm making mine." I walked past her without another word. As I opened the front door, she grabbed my arm, hard enough to leave nail marks. "Please," she cried. "We can fix this. We can go to counseling." I pulled free, staring her down. "You destroyed us," I said. "You and Jason. My best friend." I almost laughed, but it caught in my throat. "Do you even realize what you've done?" She crumpled to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. I didn't feel pity. Not anymore. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. The aftermath. Days blurred together after that. I stayed in a cheap motel on the edge of town, the kind where the walls are thin and the bed creaks when you breathe too hard. Nights were the worst. The memories came in waves, the good times, the laughter, the promises whispered in the dark. Now they felt like a knife twisting under my ribs. I stopped answering calls. I stopped replying to anyone. The only company I kept was a bottle of whiskey and the growing realization that everything I thought was real had been a goddamn lie. Sometimes, late at night, I caught myself wondering. Was it my fault? Was I too blind? Too trusting? Too stupid? But those thoughts were poison. And I wasn't going to drink them anymore. The final cut. A week later, I met with my lawyer. A tough, no-nonsense woman named Rachel Mercer, recommended by a friend who had survived his own messy divorce. After reviewing my situation, she leaned back in her chair and fixed me with a look sharp enough to cut glass. "You need to move fast," she said. "Control the narrative. Freeze the accounts. File first." I nodded. I wasn't here for sympathy. I was here for blood. "You still want the house?" she asked. I shook my head. "Burn it to the ground, for all I care," I said. "I just want them both to suffer." Rachel gave a small, approving smile. "Good. You're thinking clearly." That night, sitting alone in my motel room, I drafted the message that would end it all. One text to Emily. Simple. Cold. Final. "Papers are coming. Don't contact me again unless it's through my lawyer." I hit send. The screen flashed. Message delivered. And with it, the last piece of whatever had remained between us snapped. The empty house. I went back to the house one last time. Emily was gone, good. The walls echoed with emptiness as I walked through the rooms we used to fill with laughter and plans. Our wedding photo still hung above the fireplace. I took it down. Smashed it against the floor. Glass shards scattered everywhere, glittering like tears in the morning light. I stood there for a long time, looking at the wreckage, breathing in the dust and memory of a life that no longer existed. Then I picked up my duffel bag, slung it over my shoulder, and walked out the front door, without looking back. The days dragged on, heavy and gray. I found a small, one-bedroom apartment on the other side of town, nothing fancy. Concrete walls, second-hand furniture, a creaky ceiling fan that hummed like a broken motor. It didn't matter. I wasn't looking for comfort. I wasn't looking for anything. At first, I tried to fill the void with work. I threw myself into projects, stayed late at the office, volunteered for the worst assignments nobody else wanted. I figured if I could exhaust myself enough, I could outrun the memories. It didn't work. The nights were still brutal. I'd lie awake staring at the ceiling, listening to the buzz of the city outside, haunted by everything I'd lost, or maybe by everything I never really had. I hated how memories crept in when the world got quiet. The way Emily used to hum while folding laundry. The way Jason used to clap me on the back and say, "You're the luckiest guy I know." The jokes, the late-night talks, the shared dreams, all of it, rotten from the inside out. There were moments, sharp, ugly moments, when the anger flared so hot I thought I'd burn right through the mattress. I'd fantasize about storming over to Jason's condo, dragging him out by his throat, making him feel a fraction of what he made me feel. But I didn't. Because revenge wasn't about lashing out. It was about making sure they lost just as much as I did, maybe more. I started making lists. Cold, methodical, logical lists. What I had. What I needed. What I could take from them. Late one night, staring at my laptop in that dim, miserable apartment, I found myself typing a simple phrase into the search bar. How to destroy someone legally. It made me laugh, dry, bitter. But I didn't delete it. I read. I learned. Knowledge was power, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a tiny ember of strength ignite somewhere deep inside my chest. The whiskey bottles piled up slower. The sleepless nights weren't quite as unbearable. I wasn't healed, far from it, but I wasn't drowning anymore either. I was learning how to swim through the wreckage. I bought a punching bag and hung it in the corner of the living room. Every night, after work, I beat the hell out of it until my fists bled through the wraps. Pain was better than numbness. It reminded me I was still alive, still moving, still dangerous. Somewhere along the way, I realized something brutal but true. I didn't miss Emily. Not the real her. I missed the idea of her, the woman she pretended to be, the life we were supposed to have. That woman never existed. The sooner I accepted that, the freer I became. One night, standing in front of the bathroom mirror, I caught my own reflection staring back at me. I didn't see the broken man who stumbled out of that house weeks ago. I saw something harder now. Sharper. A man who had been lied to, betrayed, humiliated, and who was still standing. I leaned in close to the glass, studying the cold, unflinching look in my own eyes. "You're not a victim," I said quietly. "You're the storm." Outside, in the city's endless night, thunder rumbled somewhere far away. And for the first time in a long time, I almost smiled. A month later, just when the bruises on my knuckles were starting to heal and the nights didn't feel quite so suffocating, the past came knocking. Literally. It was a Thursday night. I just finished a brutal session with the punching bag, sweat soaking through my shirt, when I heard it, 3 sharp knocks at the door. I thought about ignoring it. But something in the pit of my stomach told me who it was before I even moved. When I opened the door, there she was. Emily. She looked like hell. Dark circles under her eyes, makeup smudged, hair pulled into a desperate, messy knot. She wasn't wearing any of the expensive clothes she used to love showing off. She looked small. "Rob," she breathed, her voice raw. "I need your help." I didn't move. Didn't invite her in. Just stared at her, arms crossed, blocking the doorway like a bouncer at a club she had no business entering. "You've got 5 seconds to start explaining," I said. My voice didn't even sound like mine anymore, too cold, too empty. She swallowed hard. It's Jason, she whispered, glancing over her shoulder like she thought he might be lurking in the shadows. He's not who you think he is. He's dangerous. A sick sort of irony twisted inside me. Yeah, I said dryly. I figured that out the night I found him in my bed. She winced like I'd slapped her. I made a mistake, she whispered. But it's not just about us anymore. He's into some bad things, Rob. He's not letting me go. He threatened me. Part of me wanted to slam the door right then and there. Another part, the old, stupid part of me that once loved her, hesitated. Why are you coming to me? I asked. You burned that bridge pretty thoroughly. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I didn't feel anything. No sympathy. No urge to comfort. Whatever we had, whatever illusion of safety she used to find in me, it was dead. Because you're the only one I can trust, she said, her voice breaking. I leaned against the doorframe, studying her. You trusted Jason, I said. Look how that turned out. Please, she whispered. I have nowhere else to go. I let the silence stretch until it became painful. Then, finally, against every instinct screaming inside me, I stepped aside. 5 minutes, I said. Talk fast. She stumbled into the apartment like a wounded animal, her hands trembling. I closed the door behind her but stayed by it, arms still crossed, making damn sure she knew she wasn't welcome. Emily started talking, fast and low. About Jason. About money that went missing from his company. About shady deals. Dangerous people. Things she claimed she had no idea about until it was too late. He said if I tell anyone, she whispered, he'll ruin me. Or worse. I watched her unravel in front of me, part of me feeling like I was staring at a stranger. Part of me wondering if this was just another act, another lie layered over the last. You have proof? I asked. She nodded frantically, pulling out a battered manila folder from her purse, crammed with documents, receipts, bank statements. I didn't touch it. You realize helping you could make me a target too, I said. I know, she whispered. But I didn't know who else to turn to. For a long moment, I said nothing. Then I looked her dead in the eye. I'm not doing this for you, I said. I'm doing this because Jason needs to learn some people don't stay down when you stab them in the back. She nodded, wiping at her eyes. Don't get comfortable, I added. This doesn't mean I forgive you. It doesn't mean anything. I grabbed the folder, flipping through it quickly. Dangerous or not, Jason had just made a critical mistake. He thought betrayal ended a man. He forgot betrayal also creates something far worse, a man with nothing left to lose. I shut the folder with a snap, feeling the first stirrings of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Purpose. This wasn't about saving Emily. It was about finishing something that never should have started. Outside, the wind howled against the building like a warning. I smiled coldly. Too late for warnings now. 2 nights later, we made our move. It wasn't heroism. It wasn't some grand act of loyalty. It was strategy, pure and simple. Jason had gotten sloppy. He trusted Emily once, and she still had the security codes to the private storage unit where he kept everything he didn't want anyone finding. Money, paperwork, flash drives, maybe even blackmail material. If we could get proof of what he was involved in, real proof, we could burn him down before he had a chance to strike first. We met in a dark parking lot half a mile from the storage facility. Emily sat beside me in the truck, her hands white-knuckled around the seatbelt strap. You don't have to do this, she whispered. I ignored her. I wasn't doing this for her. I wasn't doing this for me, either. I was doing it because some men needed to learn the hard way that you don't get to betray someone and walk away whistling. The storage place was a concrete fortress. High fences, motion sensors, cameras on every corner. Jason thought he was smart. He wasn't smart enough. We timed the cameras, slipped through the gap in the fence by the drainage ditch. Emily fumbled with the key code at the gate, her fingers trembling, before finally punching it in. The door buzzed open. We were inside. Row after row of storage units stretched out in the dark. Somewhere in there was everything we needed to destroy him. We moved quickly, staying low. Unit 347. Row E. Emily whispered the directions like a prayer. Every creak of the concrete, every distant car passing on the nearby highway made my heart hammer harder. This was real. This was dangerous. And God help me, it felt good to be alive again. When we reached Jason's unit, Emily punched in another code. The metal door rattled up. Inside, the place was a shrine to a double life, stacks of ledgers, laptops, safe boxes, and a few things that made my stomach turn, pictures, video equipment, things that looked like leverage on other people. We started grabbing everything we could, moving fast. Then I heard it. The sound of footsteps, running. Move! I barked. Emily froze for half a second too long, paralyzed by fear. I grabbed her arm and yanked her into the shadows behind a stack of boxes just as the flashlight beam swept past the row. A security guard. Or worse, someone Jason had watching his stuff. We held our breath, pressed into the darkness. I could hear the guard's radio crackling as he passed, his boots grinding against the asphalt. He stopped. Right outside the unit. I could see the beam of his flashlight slicing through the open doorway, hovering just inches from the edge of the boxes where we were hidden. My muscles were locked so tight it felt like I was about to snap in half. The guard muttered something under his breath, poked his head inside, then, thank God, turned away. The beam of light retreated, his footsteps fading back down the row. We didn't wait. We sprinted out of the unit, hauling the most important files stuffed into Emily's duffel bag. As we ran, alarms blared in the distance, somebody had tripped something. We didn't look back. Through the gap in the fence. Across the field. Into the truck, tires kicking up gravel as we peeled away. Only once we were 2 miles clear did either of us breathe. Emily clutched the duffel bag to her chest, shaking. I stared straight ahead at the empty road, hands tight on the wheel. Did we get enough? She asked, her voice barely more than a croak. I didn't answer. Because it wasn't about enough. It was about everything. This wasn't just payback anymore. This was war. And for once, I wasn't the one running scared. By the next morning, the city was already buzzing. We didn't go to the police. No, cops were too slow, too easy for someone like Jason to buy off. We went to someone Jason couldn't control, the media. Emily handed over everything we'd stolen, the shady contracts, the fake accounts, the blackmail files, to a contact she knew from a local newspaper. A woman named Andrea who hated corruption almost as much as I hated Jason. We sat across from Andrea in a cramped cafe, the duffel bag between us. I let Emily do the talking. I just watched, silent, measuring every twitch, every glance. Trust didn't come easy anymore. Hell, trust didn't come at all. Andrea flipped through the documents, her face growing tighter with every page. This is enough to set the whole damn building on fire, she muttered. Good, I said. By sunset, Jason's world was already in free fall. Breaking news alerts flashed across every local channel. Corporate fraud scandal. Money laundering. Sexual coercion allegations. Jason's smug, lying face was plastered all over the TV, caught mid-sentence in some smug grin he must have thought would last forever. I watched the news from the corner of a bar, a beer sweating in my hand. People around me murmured, shaking their heads in disbelief. Nobody looked my way. Nobody knew the man sitting in the shadows had lit the match. I should have felt victorious. I should have felt something. Instead, I just felt hollow. When the bartender slid another drink my way, I didn't touch it. I just stared at it, the glass catching the flashing lights from the TV like it was bleeding. Outside, the city buzzed with the feeding frenzy of scandal. Inside, all I felt was tired. Later that night, Emily called. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity, or maybe something darker, made me pick up. Her voice was thick with emotion. "It's over," she said. "We did it." I didn't respond. After a long pause, she asked, "Can we meet? One last time?" Maybe it was closure I wanted. Maybe it was just the need to look her in the eyes one last time and see who she really was. We met in the same grimy cafe where we handed over Jason's life. Emily sat across from me, clutching a cup of cold coffee she hadn't touched. Her hands shook. Her eyes, the same eyes I once thought held the world, looked hollow now. "I know you hate me," she said quietly. I didn't argue. I just. She trailed off, staring down at the chipped table. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Not sorry for loving someone else. Not sorry for lying. Not sorry for destroying what we had. Just a flat, worn-out sorry, the kind you say when you realize you've lost everything and there's nobody left to blame but yourself." I stood up, sliding my chair back with a scrape. "Goodbye, Emily," I said. She looked up, eyes wide, as if she wanted to reach for me. But she didn't. She just sat there, watching me walk away. Outside, the air was cold and sharp. It cut through my jacket, cut through my skin, but it felt good. It felt real. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Some things, once broken, stay broken. Some endings don't deserve second chances. I spent the next few weeks building something that almost resembled a new life. Got a new apartment. Signed some new contracts at work. Bought a better punching bag, heavier, harder to move. I even started sleeping through the night again, most of the time. Not because I forgave. Not because I forgot. But because you can only bleed for so long before the wounds scab over. The newspapers stopped running Jason's story after a while. Public outrage always finds new toys to chew on. Another scandal. Another disaster. Another life torn apart for the headlines. I figured Jason had gone underground, hiding somewhere, licking his wounds. Good. Let him rot. I didn't think about Emily much. Sometimes, when the city lights flickered outside my window late at night, a memory would drift past, her laugh, her smile, but I let it pass through me, like smoke through broken glass. She was another life. Another man's mistake now. I was almost starting to believe it was over. Almost. The call came on a Tuesday. Middle of the afternoon. Blocked number. Instinct told me not to pick up. But old habits die hard. I answered. For a few seconds, there was only breathing on the other end. Then a voice. Low, raw, full of something dark. "You think this is done?" the voice rasped. "You think you won?" I didn't say anything. "You're a dead man, Rob," the voice said. "You just don't know it yet." Click. Line dead. I sat there for a long time, the phone still pressed to my ear, listening to nothing. Outside, the city went on living, oblivious. Inside, something cold and old settled back into my bones. I stood up. Checked the locks on the door. Looked out the window at the street below. Nothing out of place. Nothing unusual. That was the thing about real danger, it didn't announce itself. It waited. It watched. It picked the moment you finally started breathing again, and then it struck. I leaned back against the wall, arms folded, heart steady. The fear didn't come. Not this time. Whatever Jason, or whatever else was coming, thought they were dealing with, they weren't dealing with the man they stabbed in the back. That man was gone. What was left was colder. Harder. Unbreakable. The war wasn't over. It was just getting started.